rock and roll tournament in sunny South Florida. We have an exciting game here coming up. The Hover-Round Gunners against the Texas Stampede, and with me is Kevin Orr, the coach of Lakeshore Demolition, and he's just won a big game there against South Florida. And how do you feel about things?
Well, the South Florida team has several players from the Canadian national team, so it was a good win for us. This is a very competitive tournament, and this upcoming game with Hover-Round in Texas is going to be a shootout.
Yes, this should be an exciting game. Though Hover-Round is playing without one of their main people, Dave Jenkins is out. He broke his finger. So how do you think they're going to compensate for that?
They're going to bring Pat O'Connor, who is one of their featured players when they competed for the national championship 5 years ago, and they're a very solid team. Michael Whitehead brings a lot to the table from the Canadian national team. Nick Springer is a great defensive player, so this is going to be a shootout.
Check this out.
Texas Stampede is they're no stranger to big games, so they've got a couple new guys on their team, and it's just going to be a speed clinic versus power, so we'll see what comes on top.
Okay, let's see all the numbers there. It looks like I have number 8 there. Who's the gentleman?
Tells you all the basic rules.
With the long ponytail.
Number 8 is Aaron Paulus. He transferred from the Milwaukee Iron. He's been
playing with them?
He's playing with Hover-Round.
Oh, here it is. I have him as number 1. Okay, that's why. Okay.
He'll see limited action at it, I will assume. He recently moved down to the Sarasota area, probably to get out of the Green Bay area, I'd assume, to find better weather and hook up with the Hover-Round Gunners. And he's a good player, but he's got a lot of things that he needs to develop.
Now, what I'm looking at is, being that they lost a 2-pointer, that puts a little pressure on them in terms of the numbers of keeping in the 8-point category, not going over that.
I believe they're allowing Pat O'Connor to play as a 2.5, so they're actually going to be playing 8.5 points against Texas, and throughout the tournament, just to keep their team competitive.
So this will not count for them? Is that what ends up happening, or is it still going to count in the tournament?
I'm not sure whether they're going to count these as forfeits or if they're just going to allow them to play through. I wasn't given any final interpretation of how they're going to do it. Either way, the idea is that even if it's a forfeit, your team wants to win the game on the scoreboard. So what Coach Gumbert is looking at right here is that he's looking at beating these guys at face value, whether it's a forfeit or not. Okay.
Well, that's the spirit that it is. And we're really kind of excited about seeing how this tournament unfolds. There's not going to be any finals, so every game counts.
Every game counts, and there are no weak teams here. Yeah. So a lot of times in the first rounds, you have a couple cupcakes that you play. That's not the case here. It's every single game will be competitive here. I mean, you have the German national team, you have the Canadian national team, you have a compilation of Canadian players playing with South Florida. With Texas, Hover-Round, and us. I mean, it's
Japanese playing with a couple of teams too. So.
Right, absolutely. It's just, and that's what the sport has really evolved to. Is it is an international flavored game, and you'll also see in the crowd you have members of the New Zealand national team and Great Britain national team will be here watching all these games this weekend to scout the competition.
Were you? And this is back to the game you just played. At the end of the first half against the Rattlers, you were only up 1, and then by the end of the game, you guys had pulled ahead of 8-point difference there, or 9 points. Did you surprised by their first half, and how strong they played?
A lot of teams, especially at this level, are very competitive, and it usually comes down to conditioning and really just flow with the teams. And we have a lot of experience together with our team. We've been playing for 15 years. The South Florida team is, again, it's a compilation of players. So making the small errors that you make really is, they turn into a 2-goal exchange. So it's we expected to win the game in the second half.
Yeah, well, you surely came strong forward on that one, and we're getting ready for the game here. Just to remind you, this is xable.com sports show we're having. We're covering some great quad rugby, murder ball, and this Texas team, as you said before, we've got some strong players who are playing on the 2018. And so Mark Supran is certainly, if anybody's watched the movie Murder Ball or followed the sport, is definitely one of the most powerful characters.
Mark is definitely a character. He was a spokesperson